Beaujolais! It is almost as much fun to say as it is to drink. So let's spend a few minutes talking about what makes one of my favorite wine appellations in the entire world so fantastic. Firstly, let's explore where in the world we are. If you didn't already know it, we are right here in France, specifically here, where the southern part of Burgundy meets the northern part of the Rhone Valley. And it is right here where there is an amazing confluence of geographical and climatic factors that give Beaujolais its signature. One of the most amazing things about this location is the confluence of three different winds. You've got the wet Atlantic currents coming in from the west. You've got the cool continental breezes coming down from the north, and the warm, uplifting Mediterranean winds coming from the south. And they all come together right in the heart of Beaujolais, which is one of the factors that makes the terroir of Beaujolais so magical. So now that you know where Beaujolais is, let's look at a brief historical timeline of how we got to where we are today. First, there's the 13th century. This is the first recorded mention of Beaujolais as a region, so you know that since then, people have been recognizing the quality of wines that are coming from this part of the world. Then, fast forward, it's a little bit of a jump, but I think you can follow along with me, to 1937. This is when the appellation, the AOC of Beaujolais, was first brought into its official recognition. Fast forward again to 1951. This is when Beaujolais Nouveau was invented as a fun way to put Beaujolais in the minds and on the tables of consumers. And it's been gracing every Thanksgiving ever since. Moving forward, we have 2009, where a major terroir study was done of the vineyards to help codify and classify what makes them so extraordinary. And that brings us all the way to today, where Beaujolais is about to become your new favorite wine, that is if it wasn't already. So, now that we know a little bit about where we are, and a little bit of the timeline of how we got here, let's talk about some of the other things that make Beaujolais so sensational. We're talking about wine, so of course we have to talk about the vineyards, right? First and foremost, there are two iconic grapes. The red grape, Gamay, makes up 98% of Beaujolais' vineyard holdings, but don't forget about that magical white grape, Chardonnay. In fact, most people don't realize, but there are some hidden gems in Beaujolais in the form of Beaujolais Blanc and Beaujolais Rosé. So even though we think about the red wines of Beaujolais, there is so much magic happening in the white and pink wines coming from that same region. And I promise you will not be disappointed. You have my word, and you can trust me. I'm a sommelier. Now, let's talk about where they're grown. The soils in Beaujolais are incredibly varied. There are nearly 1,000 or maybe even over 1,000 different types of soil structure there. And it's all based mostly on granite, especially in the crus. And what makes granite so exceptional is the way that the vines react to it as a subsoil and the way that they pull flavor from the earth more so than anywhere else. And this is true anywhere in the world where there's granite. Now, in addition to what farmers and wine growers are doing in the vineyards, there is also an entire environmental and community mindedness about Beaujolais. There are a number of programs that exist there, like the HVE, which is like a high environmental efficiency program. Biodynamics and organics are popular. Everything about how the vines are tended and grown in Beaujolais is done so with an absolute respect for the land and for the environment, so that they're not just taking from the earth, but also giving back. So let's look at the major appellations. First and foremost, there is Beaujolais. And this just means that the grapes come from anywhere within the Beaujolais appellation as a whole. You can consider this the festive expression. Then, more specifically, as we get into expressive, there is Beaujolais Village. This comes from one of 38 designated villages in Beaujolais. Here they are. Did you get it? Good. And then there are the 10 crus of Beaujolais. While Beaujolais and Beaujolais Village can be seen as the festive and expressive, you can look at the 10 crus of Beaujolais as the exceptional. So in order to help you better and more easily understand the crus of Beaujolais, I've developed a series of alliteratives, 10 words, one per cru, that will help you better understand what these wines are like in mind and in mouth. And here they are. There's Brouilly and the Côte de Brouilly, which are bouncy. Morgon is massive. Renier is regal. Fleury is floral. Chiroube is chewy. Moudon-Lavant is monstrous. Saint-Amour is savory. Juliana is juicy. And Chena is crunchy. And there you have it. 10 words to easily convey how truly expressive and exceptional the crus of Beaujolais really are. So now that you understand a little bit more about what Beaujolais is, where it's from, and what makes it so exceptional, There's one more thing you should understand about Beaujolais, and that is how it expresses the spirit of sharing, or as we like to call it, Beaujonomy. Beaujonomy is where Beaujolais, gastronomy, and conviviality all come together. It's about sharing a bottle or a glass. It's about sharing a meal or a table. It's about sharing the warmth of your home, of your heart. And that is one of the things I love so much about Beaujonomy. The idea is that Beaujolais can be festive, it can be expressive, it can be exceptional. It's often all of those things, but in the words of Paul Bocuse, the best bottles come into existence when we share them with friends. And that, my friends, is Beaujolais.